On this day in history, 92 years ago, after one of the most extensive manhunts the nation had seen, Clyde, Barrow, and Bonnie Parker were shot to death by officers in an ambush near Sales, Louisiana. Clyde was suspected of numerous killings and was wanted for murder, robbery, and state charges of kidnapping. The FBI became interested in the duo in December of 1932 through a singular bit of evidence after the pair had embarked upon a series of bold robberies earlier that year. Before dawn on May 23, 1934, law enforcement from Louisiana and Texas hid in the bushes along the highway near Sales, Louisiana. In the early daylight, Bonnie and Clyde appeared in an automobile, and when they attempted to drive away, officers opened fire. Bonnie and Clyde were killed instantly. At the time, they were believed to have committed 13 murders and several robberies and burglaries.